All right, Hashem Hashem Nasim Natzliach. We are starting volume 13 of the Tzurba Rabbanan English edition. This is hot off the presses. We just got them recently. This is the latest edition. I did tell you that volume 13 is going to deal mostly in halachot of brachot. However, the first year, which tonight's year does not deal with halachot brachot. It's interestingly in the Shulchan Aruch, the Rabbi Yosef Karo, after finishing the Hilchot of Tefillah, he then goes into the Hilchot of business. Right? That's what we did. That's what we did last week. Right? How much to learn, to be honest, and all that. How much to learn Torah after Tefillah? Right? So after Tefillah, you learn. So after Tefillah, he has Hilchot of learning Torah, and after Hilchot of learning Torah, he brings Hilchot of being honest in business. And this is this week's Shir, going to deal about halachot ben adam lechaviro, how we're supposed to act with other people. So we'll start off with the Tur. The Tur says, and this is what the Shulchan Aruch bases it on, after he finishes davening and he learns, then he goes to business. The Kol Torah, shein imo melacha, seifa betela v'garot avon. Any Torah that you don't work also, then you're going to lead to averot. Shem ein lo ma'yechal, because the person doesn't have what to eat. Ha'oni ya'averenu adat kono. Being poor is going to cause him to lie, cheat, steal, and do whatever he has to do to live. Right? So you cannot learn Torah all day and be poor. You have to go out and work. That's what the Torah is saying. However, don't make your working the most important thing of the day. And make your Torah learning the most prominent, right? That's what we had. Remember, from the Rishonim, they were saying you learn 9 hours and you work 3. Remember that? Okay, so that's the way the Torah is saying it. Make your Torah learning primary and make your work secondary. They made their work temporary, and the main part of the day was learning Torah. And built their business, and the Torah learning was strong in their hands. So he's saying the reason why you don't have to work so much, because Hashem can give you to be successful from a little bit, the same way He can give you to be successful from a lot, right? Some people think you have to work 12 hours a day in order to make a lot of money, but it's not true. Hashem gives you one good business deal. In 1 hour, you can already make enough for the whole month, right? And this is the way Chamim of old used to do their job, right? The Orach Chaim HaKadosh we talked about in the Gemara, talked about on Shabbat. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh, he used to work as a jeweler, but he used to work in the week as much money he needed for the week. After he made the amount of money he needed, it didn't work anymore. He said he went and learned Torah. There are many people like this, many Hasidim, many people like this. There was a tzaddik not too long ago, 150 years ago, he was a baker, and he would bake bread and sell it. The minute he made enough money for the week, that's it. He wasn't selling anymore. He did his business, he got his money, and that's all he needed for. That's what the Torah is saying. Your focus should be on Torah. You have to work, you work, because you need money. But that shouldn't be your primary. Shulchan Aruch, quoting the Torah, says, after this, after davening and learning, you go to work. The Kol Torah she'ein imo malacha. Any Torah doesn't have it with it malacha, work. Soifa b'tela v'garot avon. In the end, you won't learn Torah and you'll come to sin. Person who's poor has no choice, but in order to survive, he'll need to sin, he'll need to cheat, lie, whatever, steal. You should make his malacha ikar, and he should make his Torah primary. And both of these will be successful. And he should conduct his business with integrity. So we have the Torah, and we have the Shulchan Aruch, and they're both telling us that You have to work in order to make money. So what about nowadays if a person has an option to sit in kollel and the kollel will pay him? Okay. Obviously, we're talking that the kollel will pay him enough for his needs, basic needs, right? So interesting. The Yalkut Yosef and Simon Kufnun Vav says, after you finish your set time to learn Torah in the morning, go to your business. The person should go to business. He shouldn't try to stay away from business. If you don't have work, your Torah is going to become to nothing. Megarot Avon is going to lead to sin. Because a person who's poor is going to go against Hashem. But then he adds, like we have the Torah and the Shofar. You should make your Torah primary, and your malacha should be temporary. And both of them will be successful. Now, this is everything we already saw. This is the Torah said this. Shulchan Aruch said this. The Yalkut Yosef now continues. And we call makom adif yoter lilmoid kol hayom. However, it's better to learn Torah all day. And you can get money from the kollel and the yeshiva. He says, if you can somehow, either from the kollel, from the yeshiva, or some other way, you're able to support yourself legally, right? And basic support. It's better to learn Torah all day than to go to work. It's better than going to work and just learning for a few hours. It's better to learn all day and get money from the yeshiva, for the kollel. And rather, if the money is only just enough, right, and you still have to push it like really tight, still yiftach b'Hashem yisbarach. You should trust Hashem. And the one who trusts Hashem, chesed would surround him. So the Yalkut Yosef seems to address the nowadays phenomenon that you have the ability to sit in kollel. That if a person knows that him sitting in kollel will be able to support his family, then that's what he should be doing. It's adif yoter. Now, obviously, it has to be that he's actually going to learn all day, right? If you're a person who can't sit and learn all day, then because he said I get to live with kol hayom, it's better to learn all day. But if you're not going to learn all day anyway, then that's not better for you to sit in yeshiva and waste your time. But his lashon is quite clear that if you're able to sit all day and you're able to survive somehow, either someone did Yisachar Zebulun and start with you, right? They're going to pay for you to learn, for that, then that's definitely a better thing to do. Okay, adif yoter. However, everyone agrees that you need to have a legit source of income in order to support your family and support the Torah learning. Because if you do not have a legit source of income, that will lead for you to start stealing. You have no choice. You have to survive. And that is what the Torah, Shulchan Aruch, Yosef, everyone seems to be saying and in agreement. So if you know there's a kollel that if you can get and you'll be able to pay your mortgage and your one car and your basic groceries, and you're able to survive on that, then, and you're able to learn all day, adif yoter to go to kollel, 100%.
I don't know anymore.
Okay, so then you have to go to work. But if you have such, then you could. Okay, now both the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch, they use the lashon the yisavi ten be'emunah, that you should do business with integrity. What's the source for doing business with integrity? So we have a Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, right? We're on volume 13. We're on page 22, the first year. When a person comes into the next world and he goes into the final din v'cheshbon, the first thing they're going to ask him, Nasata v'natata be'emuna, did you do business with emunah? Did you do business in belief with Hashem? Did you do it in integrity? Did you follow halacha? The next question they ask you, so first they ask you in business, seems to be. Then they say, Keviat itim Torah, did you set time to learn Torah? That's the second question. Now, just imagine if you start and the first questions you get, and you say no to both of them, that's already a very bad start. Right? Even the first question you say no, that's already a bad start. So you need to have at least start with the first question, the yes. Then if you say no later, it doesn't look as bad. So the first two questions you're going to ask: did you do a business with integrity? And did you learn Torah? Did you set time to learn Torah? Then it's did you participate in populating the world and having children? Spiritually Yeshua, were you actually waiting Mashiach? Did you engage in matters of wisdom? Right? It's a question you're going to ask and be asked. If you actually thought about wisdom and tried to make yourself smarter, have not davar mitoch davar. We were able to figure out one thing from another thing, again using forms of wisdom. So apparently, you're not just in this world to just waste your time and be on YouTube all day, right? That's not real chachma. Yeah, you have to actually do thought processes.
That's Gemara, right?
Yeah, it's the Gemara Masechta Shabbos. Va'afilu hachi. Beyond all these, what? It's going to Yirat Hashem hi otzero ein ilo lo. In the end, they're going to see if you fear Hashem. If it's yes, then he's worthy, and if not, if he doesn't have fear of Hashem, then all these things that he did has no value. At the end of the day, is Yirat Hashem is the most important. So these are the questions you're going to be asked. Even if a person did Chachma, and a person learned and this and that, but he didn't have Yirat Hashem, then all of it is worthless. I just this past week I reheard what Rav Reisman said a couple of times. Rav Reisman said the Rav Pam told him, be careful, try not to smash the pages. Rav Pam told him that when Rav Pam was in Slobodka, Slobodka is one of the famous yeshivas in Europe, right? Pam said when he was in Slobodka, he said 90% of the student body were maskilim. He said the reformers. They said they were learning all day in the Beit Midrash, 12 hours a day, with Hasmada. They were fully in it. And when they came back to the dormitory, they were learning all sorts of apikarsis and figuring out ways to reform Judaism. So this is exactly what I think the Gemara is saying. In the end of the day, even if you did all these things, where is Yirat Hashem? Did you have fear of Hashem? Okay, so far, what we're taking out is that the first question you're going to be asked is if you did business with integrity. Then we learned a couple of weeks ago, Masech Sanhedrin Daf Zayin, Ta'amar Rab Humnuna, Ein Tchilat Dino Shel Adam Nidun El Al Divrei Torah. The first question you're going to be asked is if you learn Torah. Shne'emar Poter Mayim Reshit Midon. Remember, we had this pasuk. We had a bunch of explanation what this pasuk means, but one of them was the first thing you're going to be asking Shemaim is about learning Torah. So here you told me Masech Shabbat. The first question you're going to be asked is if I did business with integrity, and here in Masech Sanhedrin you're telling me the first question I'm going to be asked is if I set time to learn Torah. So Tosafot, which we mentioned when we learned the Gemara, Tosafot says it depends. If it's a person who learns Torah, referring to a person who learns Torah yet did not set specific times, so then they'll question him on Torah. Right? If the person learned Torah but didn't have kaveh itim, he didn't set a specific time to learn during the day, so then they'll start asking him, "You learned Torah? When did you set Torah? When is that?" Or the simple shot, he says, "Inami shaolim tchila al masa umatan be'emunah mikol malkum yikabel dino tchila al divrei Torah." That you're going to be asked about business first, but your din is going to be on Torah learning. What do you want to add? Yeah. Right. So yes, the same Taisa. So Taisa says the answer is that it depends if he learns Torah or not. So then he'll ask which question comes first, or even if he doesn't learn Torah, even the first question will be on business, but then the din will be on Torah learning. Okay, so that's the paramount of Torah, that you'll be punished first for that. So far, what do we see? This is the source of the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch that says Make your Torah kivad. Make it the most important part. Make it your most permanent and primary part of the day. And your work should be all right. Your work should be the temporary part of the day. The Pesikta over here says, Rabati, Piska 31, V'hayashar be'einav ya'aseh ze'maseh u'matan. V'lamet shekol mi she'noseh v'notem be'emunah ruach habriot nochahem. The Hashem is very happy. The people are happy with him. U'malin alav ki'ilu kayemet kol haTorah kula. A person acts honestly and with integrity in business, everyone's happy with him. It's like it's something that people enjoy seeing. Someone who is a honest businessman. Okay. Sechus Yoma Pevav deals with Kiddush Hashem and Chil Hashem. And he says, you want to know what a Chil Hashem is? It's me, Shekorev, Shoneh, Mishamesh, Tamei Chachamim. It's a person who learns Torah and he's taking care of the Chachamim. But he doesn't do business with integrity. He lies, he cheats. And he doesn't talk nicely to people. He talks sharply to everyone. What do the people say about him? Oh, look at this guy who learned Torah. Look at his father who taught him Torah. To the Rebbe who taught him Torah. How disgusting is his acts? How perverse is his ways? That these are the people of Hashem, yet they had to leave his land. Hashem had to send them out. People see, Rav Zev Smith has a shir on this. It's such a powerful shmooze that he gives. He says there are nice Orthodox from people, and they think it's okay to lie. They think it's okay to lie to insurance companies. They think it's okay to lie to all sorts of places, and they just think it's okay. And he says people are going to find out, and it's going to cause one of the biggest chil Hashems ever. Every couple of years, someone else is in the news for stealing, cheating, and stuff like that. You know, Rav Schwab, he once found out that a businessman in his town ended up in jail, and the news reporters and everything came. And the man was wearing his yarmulke, and he went to trial. And Rav Schwab told him, take off your yarmulke. Do not come into the courthouse with your yarmulke on. It's a bigger chil Hashem to walking into the courthouse for stealing and lying with your yarmulke on your head. Take it off. It's a very big chil Hashem to do such a thing. A person has to try to be on the up and up. You know, Rav Pam, I used to walk into places to buy things, and people knew who he was. They tried to give him tax off, discount and stuff like that. He wouldn't take it. He would say, no, this is not the price. I calculated with the taxes, it's supposed to be this amount. And they said, we took it off for you. He said, who asked you to take it off for me? I'm not here to take it off. I'm here to pay my price. It's a different mahalach in life. People understand you have to be integral. You have to have integrity. The Kaf HaChaim writes, in this sin, there are very few people who are careful about this, of having honest business. Some people are so messed up, he says, they're paid with lies. They're so full of trickery. They swear falsely, saying one thing, but meaning something else. Lacks honesty. He defames people. And he's honored. He's happy when he's honored when people are embarrassed. And he is always overpricing, stealing, taking over people's businesses. And he does it constantly. He thinks it's permissible to just steal other people's businesses, to go and lie, steal, and cheat. And it's like as a plague amongst the Orthodox Jews that they think they can still lie and cheat. And not only that, some people think that if he doesn't lie, cheat, and steal, there's no way he can have money. And you think it doesn't exist? I've met from people who've told me I can't be in my business or in my field without cheating, stealing, and lying. It just can't be. I can't make money. I won't be able to survive. And the Kaf HaChaim is saying that. People would say that. And he doesn't know that eventually, the mama know, that his mind is going to disappear. He's going to disappear. He'll lose everything. Milvad, except for what won't disappear? Onsho, except for sin for Olam Haba. Kavachaim says it's a plague amongst from people to think that they have to, that it's a heter to steal lion cheek, because otherwise they can't survive. But that's not true, and they will lose everything, and all they'll be left with is their punishment. So it says in the Yalkut Yosef, Nizar Elisa v'tem be'emuna shlo yeh be'esek be'eskav chash gezel v'tarmit. He shouldn't be dealing with any gezel, theft, or deceit. Therefore, it's important to know the hilchot of business, of what's allowed and what's not allowed. They will know what's permissible and what's not permissible in money matters, right? There's a famous story with Rishal Salanter. There was a Rav during the time of Rishal Salanter, and I believe this is the story. And he made a mistake in psak. Someone asked him if something was kosher or not, and he made a mistake. And he said what was usur, what was asur, he said it was mutar. So he told Rabbi Rishal Salanter's Rebbe, I'm done with the rabbanut. I don't want to be a rabbi anymore because I made a mistake in Isra Heter, and I made someone eat treifus. I'm out. I'm going into business. This way I have less problems. Rishal Salanter told him, and you think business is easy? There's more halachot of how to be an honest businessman than there is in Isra Heter. And what's permissible to you and what's not permissible to you. It's more difficult to be a businessman than it is to know the hilchot of Isra Heter. So it's just food for thought. It's you have to really be honest. In the olden days, you'll see the Gemara tells us you can say Shema on top of a tree. Well, why are you allowed to say Shema on top of a tree? Because you can't take away time from your boss, right? I've heard some Persian bosses are still like this today. Very careful with their employees' time. But most businesses today allow you for time off. They don't expect you to work the whole time and stuff like that. In fact, the whole thing of a coffee break and taking breaks at work was made in order to produce productivity. They felt that if they gave people time off, some of the workers said they need a break at 10 and then again at 4, then they'll be more productive. So they started giving them a coffee break. What's coffee? Coffee's caffeine. Caffeine is a drug addictive, right? To make them work better. And that's what they did. And they increase productivity. But what I'm trying to get at is sometimes today, our employees, if you work for someone, they know that you're not going to work the whole time. And if they know that, then that's okay to not work the whole time. But if your employer expects you to do X, Y, and Z, and you're not doing it at that time, then you're stealing from them. But you're supposed to be doing something and you're not getting it done. So it's something that a person has to be very careful with. And those who have their own businesses, you have much more to be responsible of. You have to always be honest, be truthful, and know when and where and what. And you have to know someone who knows Chosh and Mishpat very well, so you can be able to ask them questions of halacha and what can be done and what can't, stuff like that. So that's on the integrity of being a businessman. Let's move on to some other halachot of ben adam lechavero. Okay, so we know there's a famous, right? There's many songs, different tunes. Ve'hafta l'reicha kamoch, right? The pasuk says in Vayikra, "Lo tikom be'lo titor et bnei hamecha ve'hafta l'reicha kamocha ani Hashem." What does it mean to love your fellow Jew? So the Sefer HaChinuch says the mitzvah is to love every Jew with love of the soul. You have to love his neshama. We asked, this means you have to have compassion over him and his money, just like you have compassion over yourself and over your money. As it says, as it says in Masechet Shabbos, what you don't like, what you don't like, don't do to your friend, right? That's the famous what was it, Hillel that taught the guy that said that this is what the whole Torah is. That's what you have. They said in the Sefer Bekiva said, "Zeh cloud gadol b'Torah, kilemer sheharba mitzvah sheb'Torah toluin b'kach." Most mitzvahs in the Torah, a lot of mitzvahs in the Torah, are totally in this, in loving your fellow as yourself. Shohev chaver kenafsho lo yignav mimenu. If you love your friend, you won't steal from him. Again, we learned this on Shabbos also. If you feel like you're a family member, you're not going to steal from him, right? Below you're not going to go after his wife because you respect his wife, you respect him. And right, you're not going to steal his money, not cheat him in money. You're not going to say bad words to him. You're not going to steal his business. You're not going to damage him. B'shum tzad in any way. The kain kama mitzvahs acharos teluyas b'zeh. Yidu hadavar l'chol ben dat. And it's something that's known to everybody that you should be nice to everybody, and that's a mitzvah. Shasharish mitzvahs yidua. Ki kemoshe yaseh hu b'chavero, ken yaseh chaverovo, u'b'zeh yes shalom ben abriot. If everyone's going to think about the other guy, then it's going to be shalom in the world. If everyone's only thinking about themselves, there is no shalom in the world. When you're thinking about the other guy, then it's going to lead to peace, right?
This extends to every Jew.
To every
Jews
Jew
around us, Jews at work, conservatives, like all these things, like that extend to everyone, or the observant, or
okay. So let's leave it in a moment. That question, I don't have an exact answer to that. Anyone know the answer to that? Does it apply to, you're talking like non-from Jews, non-religious Jews?
What? What's the
You're talking about Rishaim?
categorized?
Like evil people? Okay, so let's leave it a minute to Rav Shamshon Paul Hirsch is going to explain a little bit. We're going to see if that can apply to here. But let's just continue. He says over here, Medina mitzazu kulam hem b'taycha mitzvah sheklalhu sheitnaheg ha'adu im chaber k'moy sheitnaheg im atzmo. You should do to your friend like you do to yourself. When they call nezek, watch his money, make sure he doesn't get damaged. Maybe sapir alav devarim, sapir l'shevach. If you can speak to him about words, say good words. Be careful with his covet. And don't be happy when he is being disgraced. If you are being honored through your friend's disgrace, he's going down, you're going up, you don't have chelik lo'im haba. If you're going to be with your friend with love and peace and friendship, you're going to seek their benefit and be happy when they have good. Hashem says, through you, Israel, I will be glorified. So it's very beautiful. You're a parent. You're a parent of me. When your children get along, isn't it so nice? And when they don't get along, you're upset because, you want them to get along. They're all you, in a sense. And you want them to get along. And sometimes if you have the forethought to think in the future, you're going to know I'm not going to always be around. But I want my kids to get along, to live happily together and watch themselves out. And if they're not doing it, who knows what's going to be, right? So that's the mashal for us. But that's what Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying. These are my children. I want them all to be b'shalom. That's why I gave them all those mitzvahs, so they should get along with each other. And when you don't get along with each other, and you steal and you lie and you cheat and you do other things to other people, and you're happy when he's being disgraced, then what happens? Hashem is not glorified through that. There's no covet to Hashem when a person does that. Now, in your question, Malkiel, Rav Shamshon Farol Hirsch wants to deal with this. Now, remember, let's just put ourselves in Rav Shamshon Farol Hirsch's time period. He's dealing with most of Germany now turns to be reformers, right? They're all leaving from Orthodox Judaism. They're all going over to Reform Judaism, right? So he's dealing with the issue is really, can I really love every person? There are some people I can't stand their attitude. I just can't stand the way they behave. I don't like their attitude. I don't like their way they talk, the way they look, whatever it is. So how can I come to love them? It's very hard. We're talking maybe it's impossible to love everybody. Right? I mean, there's some people that you just can't get along with. You can't please everyone at the end of the day. Right? And you're not, there's some people that you just don't rub with. Right?
Doesn't the Gemara refer to as the is all that are with you in mitzvot?
It's also true, yes. It's those are shown Torah mitzvot. But let's see from his approach what he's saying. He says all of one's dealing with people in his thought, his words, and his actions. The loftiest of our emotion towards the Hashem people is called ahava. Now he says the verse doesn't say et re'echa. It doesn't say to love your friend, right? What does it say? So you have to lire'echa. You love towards your friend, right? Towards your neighbor. So what does this mean? In relation to other people, to your neighbor. Does not refer to the personality of other. Doesn't mean you have to like them. Rather, that everything that happens to the person. To this end, we focus our love. We seek goodness and peace for him, just as we seek for ourselves. Meaning, we don't have to actually like the dude. I don't have to actually like the guy. As long as you are still looking out for his benefit. Right? So I'll give you my example. When I'm learning this, I have to go back to my own experiences in life. So I was a manager, right? I managed a lot of people and I acquired a lot of staff when I became a manager, people I didn't hire. There's some people I really don't like. I don't like their attitude. I don't like their personality. I don't like the way they do things. But at the end of the day, as a manager, I cannot just willy-nilly choose to be mean to them. I still have to give them the same what's it called, rights as the treatment as the other people. I can't schedule them for every holiday, right, and make them come to work when every day that's hard to get staff. I can't do that. I have to be treatment fairly to everyone. So I don't like them, but I'm treating them nicely, right? And this is where Shalom Shulchan Hirsch is trying to say, we will gladly give towards his well-being as if it was our own well-being. We will distance from him any pain as if it was a danger that we ourselves were facing. This is a command that we are able to fulfill regarding every person, even if there is no personal relationship between us. Even if we don't get along and we have nothing to do with each other, but still we are looking out for each other's good. And you think about it, most Jews do act this way. Even if we don't know someone, we don't know other Jew, we don't get along with them, or we don't have the same hugam as them, or we don't really talk to them. But if you see someone, rummaging around in their backyard, you're going to call them and tell them, I think someone was in there, go check it out. You're going to help the guy because you are looking out for everyone's good. Now, on your point of being, like Tzion said, that usually when we say re'echa, when it means your friend, it's people who are with you in the same category as Shomer Torah and Mitzvot. That is true, but I want to also take a look at it from the other side. Acting cruelly to someone doesn't just make you do cruel things to that person. It also changes who you are, right? Like the Sefer Chinuch talks about many times, the things that you do affect who you become. So if you are cruel to someone, even if you say it's a reshut to do that, even if you say there was permission to do that, to be cruel to them, that cruelness will affect you. So do you really want to go down there? So we have to tzarich on that. And that question, Malkiel, we have to look further on it, but let's continue with what we have here. According to Hirsch, the Torah is not necessarily required to love the personality of every person and how they act. Rather, we must view what happens to him in life with the same lens as we view what happens to ourselves. Namely, we should aim to support and encourage him through everything that comes his way in life, rejoicing during good times, feel his pain during bad times. The mitzvah to love others is summarized by the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says as follows: Mitzvah kol adam la'ohev is kol echad beYisrael egufay. You have to say good things about him. What is this? Okay, Sham, I don't know what this pay Zion, but he's saying, true, you have to talk good things about people, but if you're around that guy's enemies, don't talk good about him. Because imagine you're sitting around, let's say Beryl has a bunch of enemies, and you're sitting around them, and you're telling them, oh, Beryl's such a good guy. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? And they're going to start saying bad things about him. So you have to know when to speak good about somebody. And just as he wants honor for himself, he should give honor to them. So basically, this is what it means. And I think that's why, think about it now, that's why Rabbi Akiva said, don't do what you don't like to someone else. What you don't like to yourself, don't do to someone else. He didn't just say love your friend. He said, because that's the thing. If you think about it, Shashar said that. You have to worry about what's done to them, not necessarily love them. Right? It's a different category. All right. Moving on. The second Sanhedrin says, Kol ha'mechazik b'machlokas. Anyone who keeps a machloket going over belav. He's being over a lav against the Torah. Shenemar, v'lo yeh kekorach b'cha'adato. A person should not be like Korach and his Edah, his group. What did Korach and his group do? Korach and his group were fighting against Moshe. When you fight against Moshe, it is keeping a machlokit alive. The Mishnah Berurah says it's actually the Sma counted as a Torah prohibition, the law of the Torah. Kav Chaim says the medicine for all is to be patient and forgiving when insulted. When someone insults you, you should be patient. You should be forgiving. And you should forgo what you deserve. And this is better than any ta'anitim, fasting, or any other kapara. The best is to be quiet and be patient and forgiving. This positive trait is an invaluable peril. And all who are arrogant of heart are an abomination to Hashem. Anyone who is arrogant, he is an abomination to Hashem. As the Rav is Chida, writes in Moreh Be'etzba, and one should not feel resentment for this, even in his heart. Ki zahu b'cha to'avat Hashem kol gavat lev. As the Holy Rav, the author Rishi Chochmah writes, that's in Shar Anava. That's Ramchal, right? And then he writes, it's brought in Perkei Avot Rabbi Natan that a person should not become angry. If Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the greatest sage and father of the prophets, and became angry, forgot his words, then how much more by us? Person should be gentle with his words and not become angry. The Kav Chaim says this is the biggest medicine. And how can you prove that? It's the biggest medicine, right? Science today tells us what causes us the most
Stress-free.
That's right. Most problems come from stress. Most people who go through problems through stress. Stress causes different cortisol and other things in the body to get higher levels in the body, and that causes actual problems for the body, both physical and mental problems for the body. So if a person could be stress-free, then he's out of a lot of issues. It's big medicine for him. Rabbeinu Yonah, let's take a look. He brings the Mishnah in Masechet Avot. Kol machlokes shel Hashem Shemayim soifli tkayim. If you have machlokes that really for Hashem Shemayim, it'll stay. But if it's not Hashem Shemayim, ain't soifli tkayim. It will not last. Ezi machlokes shel Hashem Shemayim. What's a machlokes for Hashem Shemayim? So machlokes hil v'shamai. L'shein Hashem Shemayim. It's not for Hashem Shemayim. So machlokes karev v'chol adato. What does it mean? It'll be miskayim and not be miskayim. It'll last and not last. Lemer. Kimash Amar Kol Machlokes Shel Hashem Shemayim Soifli tkayim. Hakavana shel olam itkayim over machlokes. They'll forever stay in the machlokes. Hayom yichalku davar echad, l'machar b'davar acher. Today they're arguing one, and tomorrow they're arguing something else. Why? Because they're still alive. They themselves are alive, so they continue to fight. L'machloket yeh kayim v'nimshach b'neihem kol yimei chayeihem. Lo oid el she'arich yamim mishnot chayim yosifu lahem, and they'll have longer life because of that. The same Shemayim. They're just arguing, and they're arguing the same Shemayim. They'll continue to live. He'll not continue to live. Right? There they'll finish to exist and they'll die right there. So Rabbeinu Yonah says the mitkayim is not that the machloket will last, but rather the person will last. If you get into machlokes and it's l'shem shemayim, you'll continue to live. And if you get into machlokes just shlei l'shem shemayim, you won't continue to live. Chas v'shalom. Right? Scary thought from the Rabbeinu Yonah. He brings here the Noda B'Yehuda was answering a tshuva question, and there's apparently a big machlokes there. They don't really bring what the machlokes was, but he just bring as follows: Noshi shmam alato la'atzati v'yiten makom l'shalom. He says, please listen to me, to my advice, and have shalom. There's nothing worse than machlokes. It was manenu lo shchiach machlokes l'shem shemayim. The Noda B'Yehuda says today there's no such thing as a machlokes l'shem shemayim anymore. Don't say I'm doing it l'shem shemayim. I'm fighting the l'shem shemayim. No, it doesn't exist. He says the Satan is dancing, and please, I'm begging you, make peace.
Make a domik.
Make peace. Yaseh shalom. So he says Vasata Mirakid, comma, but no me'ochi asel shalom. And so please make peace. So the Nadi Yehuda says that nowadays there is no machlokas l'em shemayim. It's lo shchiach. It's not common. You really don't find it. So therefore, don't think you're doing l'shem shemayim. Think it's l'shem shemayim. Not l'shem shemayim, and stop it. The Torah says, "Loi tisna et achicha bilvavecha." Don't hate your brother in your heart. Don't hate your brother in your heart. Rather, tell him what he's doing wrong, so you don't have a sin. Sefer Chinuch. Do not hate any Jew with hatred of the heart, meaning you shouldn't really hate him. When you see him, you have burning hate. You shouldn't have hatred for him in the heart. But if you just demonstrate hatred and you show him that you hate him, you're not being over this lab. But who over al titar. He's going to be over not taking vengeance and not bearing a grudge, because you're still bearing a grudge. That you are going to be over. But Amr Kamoy Kain al Asay. And you're not loving him. So you're over another Asay, another mitzvah, this time a positive mitzvah. However, hatred of the heart is even more. So hating him superficially seems to be less of a problem, but still it is over a couple of avirot. But hating him in the heart, that's a real issue. Okay?
What's the difference between hating him in the heart?
Meaning, okay, so hating in the heart, from way, so from what I'm understanding in Sefer Chaim, this is my, so if you don't like it, you can just describe it. The way I'm understanding it is that sometimes someone will do something to you that you're so upset that it's going to really get you in the heart, and you feel like you're never going to forgive him. That is the sinah. That's that aver right there. Hating him too much. That's
what should I do?
Another,
but he really hurt me.
You have to. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you.
I didn't do Yom Kippur. I didn't do it today. I didn't do the second Yom Kippur. I still have it in my heart.
Problem. Being over. Person who does it.
I'm over.
Yeah. If you're hating him,
he did something bad to me. I'm over.
Yeah, apparently so. Right. So it says it's like there's like this. You have to tell him what he did wrong.
Why is it on me to tell him what he did wrong? He doesn't know what he did wrong.
Most people don't know what they do wrong. Even if you tell them, they still won't know. But hold on. So what? And now what's? You just said don't. Why? How are you creating machloket? That's not a machloket. It's not a machloket. Machloket is when you're arguing about something. This is you're having tough conversation.
He wants to say that if you're telling him, then he knows what to correct. He knows what. Oh, I did really do that. Wow, I didn't know that I did it to you. I didn't know it's going to hurt your feelings. So he has a way to correct. But even if he said that, I still have to. Do I have to forgive him? I need to teach him a lesson. At some point, no?
So
when
now,
am I going to hold it against?
Teaching
and it's good. And why is I'm going to hold it against?
Teaching a lesson that's right. You don't hate him in the heart. You're just showing that. That's lo tikam lo titor. Now you're burning
my question. Where exactly is the border?
That's the thing. If you eventually feel like I'm gonna get over this, or I'll forgive him, so then it's not lo it's not the. So
what is it? 1 week, 2 months?
I don't know. I don't know. These are I don't know the the criteria for all this. But Pashit, if you really hate him so much and you really hate him in your heart, and you're hating him in the heart. If you're just superficially hating him because you didn't want to teach him a lesson, or you're a little upset for him right now, you eventually get over it, then that's lo tikam lo titor. They're different levels.
How long should I give him?
I don't know.
How long should I give my heart to forgive him?
I don't know. The sooner the better. Right? That's what Pirkei Avos says. The person who calms down more quickly is more better than the person who takes longer to calm down. There's different levels for everybody. I don't know. If you look at a person's makeup, eventually, if a person works on himself hard enough, he'll be able to forgive him right away.
So ideal is right away.
Of course, that's Moshe Feinstein. he was writing pirush and someone spilled ink over his whole thing, right? And he was ready to meichel right away. How do you do that? Most people can't do that. Imagine you're working on a project, you're typing something on the computer for 12 hours, and someone comes and erases the whole thing, right? How are you gonna feel? It's out of control. But as someone who's in control of himself is able to be meichel right away. It's a whole different thing, right? There was this famous rabbi once. He ordered special fabrics to make a tzitzit, right? He brought it to the tailor, and the tailor, instead of punching out one hole for the head to go through, had it folded over. Punched it, and it came out now 2 holes. So you can't make tzitzit anymore from the fabric. And what did this rabbi say? Why I have 2 holes, right? One for me and one not to get angry. Okay, so there's a level. There are people who are on that level, right? But that's it. Sharish and mitzvah yadua hisinat halev gormot raot gedolot ben bnei adam liot tamid charav ish be'achev ve'ish be'ehu. It puts a sword between a man and his brother and a man and his neighbor when there's evil in the hearts. Because no matter what this guy does, you're always going to find a problem. You're always going to look for something to do wrong to him because you just have this hatred. And that's the worst thing, to have a hatred in the heart and you can't get over somebody. Because no matter what he does, he tries, he says, you're always going to see it in a bad light. The guy can come over and give you shalach manot with worth $300, and you're going to say, what did he give me? Last year's stuff. Or he found someone else, gave it to him, and he gave it to me. And stuff like that. Because you hate him in your heart, you have no way to look at him in a good way. It's always a sword between you. And it is lowly and completely disgusting trait among all people of intellect. It applies everywhere and at all times by males and females. I don't know why Sefer Chinuch had to say females. You would still me think everybody, but maybe people have a stronger hatred sometimes. That's not just my grandma. And one who transgresses it and fixes hatred in his heart towards any proper Jew, as he here says, Sefer Chinuch uses the lashon of proper Jews, the kosher Jews. Over alav zeh, the ain lokin alav, the pisha ain ba ma'aseh. Since there's no ma'aseh to it, you don't give him malchut for it. But it is a terrible, terrible trait, Sefer Chinuch says, to not forgive and not get along with a proper Jew, even if they did something wrong to you. The Rambam says, ish.
Any proper Jew.
Any proper Jew, anyone who keeps Shabbat Torah mitzvot, or tries to keep it at least. Ish lo yislein v'shtok. When one sings against another, he should not remain silent. He shouldn't remain silent. You have to tell the person you did something wrong. Avshalom did not speak to Amnon neither good nor bad, right? What's the story of Avshalom and Amnon? So Amnon had a sister, Tamar, and no, eventually, but before he killed him, right? So Amnon took Avshalom's sister Tamar and violated her, right? And then he didn't even want to marry her afterward when she asked. And Avshalom became so upset with him, he wouldn't talk to him neither good nor bad. Just didn't talk to the guy. Never saw him. Didn't want to see him. Pretend they didn't see him. Pretend didn't talk to him. Nothing. And then what happened in the end? They ended up killing him, right? So that's a big problem. And the Rambam says, El mitzvah alav lahodia v'lomer lo lama asit likach. You have to tell the person, why did you do this to me? Lama asit likach v'kach. Lama chatat li b'davar ploni. Why did you say such a thing against me? Shenem, because it says, you have to rebuke your neighbor. And if the sinner continue begs for forgiveness, you have to forgive him. He shouldn't be an achsari, cruel, as it says, so if the sinner continually begs for forgiveness, he must forgive him, and he should not be cruel. Meaning, if he doesn't ask for forgiveness, I don't know, but it seems you can't. It's still, they have a problem of hating him in the heart. That hatred in the heart has to go. No, you got to forgive him. You got to make the ear clear. You have to make the ear clear. Everyone has to know that everyone is okay. It's Hashem. It's disgusting for Hashem when people are fighting. That's what Sefer Chinuch says. It's a disgusting trait for the person, for Hashem, for everybody involved. You have to come to some sort of conclusion with people. Sometimes the best.
If I forgive him and he doesn't ask for forgiveness,
I don't know.
do my qualities
Go up.
go up? Or does that give me a
Now, how come he doesn't know you
avoidance of
forgive them? Because you're not
forgive?
there, or you're around him and he just didn't tell him. If you're not
He
there,
doesn't
you
feel
can
like he
forgive
did
him.
something wrong. He feels like, yeah, I did what I needed to do. That's it.
Well, most times that's what it is. That's how problems occur. One person thinks this, one person thinks that. That's why we have different day. Oh, everyone has different
Right. So
thoughts.
even if I tell him what I feel, how I feel, or you hurt my feelings, he's like,
Tough luck.
So?
Your problem. True and not true.
so in that case, do I have to, okay, you know what? I have to work on myself and say, you know what? It is what it is. And let him go.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes that's what you would have to do.
Just forgive him.
The better person forgives.
Oh, that makes me a better person?
100%.
I can't hold it against him. I shouldn't hold it against him. In order for me to be a better person.
It depends. I think the only way out of this, if you still want to not like the guy, is if you're scared. If you do forgive him, he'll do it all over again. So maybe then they'll.
No, I'm not doing business with him anymore. I'm not.
Then the person should
I
forgive
have
him.
nothing to do with him anymore.
Person should forgive him. Person should forgive him.
Just let it go.
Person should forgive him.
I had a person like that I left the business, and the owner gave that business, in other words, that location, to someone else. That guy closed off the doors. He took everything that belonged to me, and I'm like, my stuff is in there. Was your stuff, not anymore. So I'm like, can I buy my stuff? I'm like, I'm paying him for things that belong to me. I'm
Wow.
like, I'm paying you for my things. And he's like, so at one point, it took me some time. You know what? And I see him regularly. Okay, Manishma, yeah, you need anything? Yeah, okay, fine. You need me to move my car? Because he's further in. I'm neighbors, basically. Okay, fine. I had to
Work
hold
on
myself.
yourself.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's not an easy thing.
because I tell you what, if I'm coming and trying to rebuke, to be mochiach others, to say, listen, you gotta give in, you gotta forgive the guy, and I'm holding myself
Then you can
something against someone else. I'm like, how am I preaching to someone else to forgive him
Right.
if I'm holding things myself? I'm
Right.
like, I can't do that. So, okay, fine, I'm gonna forgive
And
him.
now you can say
And
it.
now I can say it to him.
That's right. Now you can say it from experience. And now you have the experience to say it. And that's a greater thing. Obviously, these things are somewhat it takes a degree of working on a person's midot to do these things. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing just to be mochel someone for something that you think is really bad. But it takes a certain degree. Now you don't have to put yourself in that place again, and stuff like that to get yourself in problems again with that person. Obviously, you want to limit your dealings with certain people. I know one guy who once threatened to kill me. And
I know what you say.
right, this guy was an interesting character.
With the gun?
No, you don't know the guy. He was a boxer though. He was quite a big person, and he threatened to kill me. And obviously, I ran away from him and stuff like that. But I never saw the guy again, and I hope never to see him again. But I was right on life shalom, understanding he's a different person, different personality, whatever it was, and we clashed, and whatever, it happens. Okay, but yeah, you have to be right with people at some point. You can't stay upset with people. It's not good for your health. If it makes it easy if you do with someone, you think about yourself and think about it that way. It's good for your health not to be angry. That's why I try not to have any grudges. Like I forget everything.
Somebody very smart told me, if you're letting it bother you, it's like he's taking space in your mind and
That's
in
right.
your heart,
He's controlling
and
you.
he's not paying you rent.
That's right.
If he's paying you rent, I can understand. Napashas, you're getting something out of it. What are you getting out of it? He says, let it go.
Not only did he win you in the fight, he continues to win over you the whole time you're thinking of him. Yeah.
But no gain.
No gain. You're not
What's the
getting.
point?
That's why I tell you, Baruch Hashem, I can say about myself that I'm a certain guy. Like, even if something bothers me, after 1 or 2 days, it's just I totally forget it. And I'm really mochel the guy, just move on with life. I can't keep grudges. Like it just it disappears after a while. But let's move on. Let's move on to another Indian.
Listen, not easy.
It's definitely not an easy thing. It's definitely not easy.
Work on yourself. That's Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, Rabbi Akiva, Kavod, going back and forth, Masechtot.
Not an easy thing, but they do it. That's how you become a chacham. That's how you become someone who is closer to Hashem. Just think about this. Hashem keeps all these people alive, and all these people are sinning against Hashem, and Hashem's still being mochel them, giving them. Hashem's just taking it all. We have to learn. All right. Next, now we're coming to another Indian. We have a few more minutes. We'll see how far we can get. I thought we would finish the whole share, but let's see how much we can get in this. Famous Indian Midvar Sheker Tircha. What does Midvar Sheker Tircha mean? What does it actually mean? Midvar Sheker Tircha. Literal translation. Distance yourself. Stay away. Remember, I had a chemistry professor, Dr. Khan, German Jew, from guy. And he was like 90 years old. He was teaching us chemistry in Tzurba College. And he writes on the board, it was the Parsha, Midvar Sheker Tircha, Shmois, Gimel, whatever Parsha was. And he writes it on the board. Like every week, he would give us a Dvar Torah during chemistry. Torah. So he writes, Midvar Sheker Tircha. And what does he do? He takes like 20 steps backward. He says, that's what it means. Midvar Sheker Tircha. Stay away from falsehood. Okay. The person has to stay away from lying, from saying not truths. Where does this apply? Meaning, is this always? Is it all right to not to say? Because the next pasuk in the Torah talks about bedin, right? So is it that you can't lie in bedin, but you can lie everywhere else, or is it the right to lie anywhere? Where does this apply? So interesting. How do you dance in front of a kala? Right? What do you say while you're dancing? What's the song that you're singing? So Beit Shammai Oimrim, what do you say? Kala Kimochi. Beit Shammai says you say whatever she is, meaning no, not say that. You whatever the good, true things about her, you say it, but you don't say more. You don't say she's the most beautiful, she's the greatest. Right? You don't say it. Beit Hillel, Kala no v'chazuda. She's the most beautiful, most attractive bride. All right. So it seems to be he's lying. So Amr Lein Beit Shammai Beit Hillel. Hare shaita chigras oisuma. Right? If she was lame or blind, she's limping or she's blind. So how are you saying that?
How do you say she's beautiful?
Right. I remember Kala no v'chasuda. How do you say Kala no v'chasuda? The Torah says stay away from false, and you're saying Kala no, but she's not beautiful at all. She looks very, very weird, or she is a very strange person. According to you, what do you do? A person bought a car, and it should really cost 20,000. He spent 60,000, and it's a cheap car, or whatever it is, and he can't return it. Right? What do you do at that point? Do you tell him, "Oh, you fool! You spent so much money for a terrible product. You're going to be always completely ruined, right?" And not only did he got a bekachra, now you're killing him with all that. So what do? You should make it sound good for him. He has no choice. He's stuck with this product. So at least make him a little bit happy. Oh yeah, I heard it. It uses less gas. So whatever good quality you can say about it. You should always be empathetic with mankind. Meaning, in this case too, you treat everyone courteously. So you also say, even if she's not a beautiful bride. Yeah, he's already married to her. What are you going to say now? She's not so good. She's not so pretty. She's not so smart. No, he's already married. So now you say, okay, so that is what happened? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So the Rashbats says from this Gemara that there is a general prohibition of lying, right? Because the Beit Shammai says to Beit Hillel, how could you say she's so nice and attractive? Midrash Sheker Tircha, right? If you wanted to say Midrash Sheker Tircha in the context of the Psukim, seems to be talking about not lying in Beit Din, but the Gemara seems to be saying that Beit Shammai is asking us to Beit Hillel about in context of a general application of lying. And Beit Hillel appears to respond that there's an exception to the rule, but normally they would agree. That's what the Rashbats wants to say. Rabbeinu Yonah follows the context of the pasuk and maintains that although lying is a terrible trait, the Torah violation of lying specifically applies in courts. So Rabbeinu Yonah wants to stick to that. He wants to say that midbar sheker tirchak, that d'oraita din of not lying is only in Beit Din. And here he brings from Rav Yerucham Perlo official. Somebody writes in his commentary on the mitzvot of Rav Saadia Gaon that the prohibition of lying applies only in court. And he claims, they don't bring how, but he claims that this is understanding of Beit Hillel as well. The Beit Hillel also agrees to this, that the whole issue is only saying sheker in court and not sheker throughout anything else. What does he say about Kolpanim Mevur Le'adim Mishem the Beit Hillel Kara the Midar Sheker Terchach L'Koi Eli LaHazara Al Beitin Shaloi L'Shaker Bedin. That the whole Midbar Sheker Terchach only applies in Beit Din and nowhere else. Okay, this is what they're wanting to say. Let's take a look for a minute at the Sefer HaChinuch. Sefer HaChinuch says as follows. He also says, "Am Risham she'azhara gam leval hadin, shelo yiton gam hu ta'anotav ledayin shelo b'fnei baldinoi, v'afil yirtzel l'shmo oto hadin, v'al ze ne'emar gam kain midvar sheker tircha." So the Sefer Chinuch starts off with saying that also that it seems to be all this about in a din Torah, in Beit Din. V'ayid amr zechron lebracham. Shezehu alab koilem mispar lashon hara umekabel me'ed edut sheker. This is the negative commandment of lashon hara, accepting and giving false testimony, and this is lying. Now he's going to go into the shorish mitzvah. He's going to go into the reason of the mitzvah, and the reason of the mitzvah of not lying is going to apply generally, even though he's saying that the specific of the mitzvah is in Beit Din. So he says as follows: the root of the command is well known as a falsehood is abominable and vile in the eyes of all. In everyone's eyes. No one likes a liar, right? Interesting, if you look amongst a lot of the young goyim, like they'll do a lot of bad things, but they always like don't want to lie. Like someone once at work, I told them, they said, we're talking about calling out sick or something like that. Like, oh, I would never call out sick if I'm not sick. I'm like, really? Like you do all these other weird things and all these other abominations, but lying for some reason is something they don't want to do. Right? They feel like they shouldn't lie about something. But lying is disgusting for everybody. He continues, curses are in the house of its lovers. People who love who love lying, they're all cursed. As why? Because God is truth. Right? Everything about Hashem is true. Only someone who is truthful. To be truthful like Hashem, to be merciful like Hashem, right? Just like Hashem is merciful, you should be merciful. Same way. But anyone whose deeds are opposite of his good traits and their masters of falsehood, which is exactly the opposite of his traits, the opposite of his traits will similarly always rest upon them. Someone who's the opposite of Hashem, but not being truthful, all the bad things will be on him. And that's the pretty much the gist of the Sefer HaChinuch. So Sefer HaChinuch starts off by saying the din seems to apply in Beit Din, but lying is something that's terrible. It's exactly the opposite of Hashem. So you shouldn't do it anyway. Here he brings now from the Ramchal.
Wait, is that arguing with Beit Hillel?
No, it's just going the same, learning the same way as Rabbeinu Yonah learns, and that's what the Rasag want to say. Beit Hillel agrees to. The Beit Hillel agrees to that lying is only an issue in Beit Din, and not
no, issue. But anything, but it's really, really, really bad to lie.
Right.
So does he disagree with Beit Hillel?
So then you have all the pshatim in Beit Hillel that the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So it's really not a lie.
So then
Or he already has it. What are you going to tell him wrong?
That means he doesn't agree with Rabbeinu Yonah, right? If
Okay.
it's mutter, it's
Right.
mutter.
It was
And
mother is
therefore,
mother.
not Beit Hillel. If you want to say Beit Hillel, if it's bad, then Beit Hillel wouldn't say, even though it's mutter, right? He wouldn't say do it. If it's bad, don't lie, don't say anything, right?
Don't say anything.
Don't say anything. But Beit Hillel doesn't say that. He says lie. Now, if you want to say it's an eye of the beholder, but then he's not holding the Sefer Chinuch anymore. You can't have it. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Right? You gotta pick one.
Okay, so maybe Sefer Chinuch is arguing then.
Oh, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
fine.
Just clarify
You can
that
hold
there's
that way.
no argument.
All right.
all I'm saying.
But
He's going
they-
to Beit Shammai, that's all I'm saying.
But they agree that the actual din d'oraita is not lying in Beit Din.
But as far as Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel,
How far do you go with the permissible side of that? Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I would say even these days it's weird to go to any guy and say, "Oh, your wife is beautiful." That's weird.
No. That's
Things are called no,
No, when the Gemara,
doesn't even know what that means.
When the Gemara says it, it doesn't mean like dancing in some indirect way. Literally
Right, it
means you
means-
go to the guy and say,
right.
"Oh, good catch."
no,
you
he
know?
comes and asks you. What do you think?
No one asks you. No one in the right mind is
Some
gonna be like,
people
"What do you
do.
think about my life?" Is
Some
it
people
pretty?
do.
Like,
I'm
no one does that.
surprised.
No. And plus, you're
I
supposed to.
said some.
And plus, you're supposed. The Gemara says you're supposed to open it yourself. It's not. You're not. The guy's not asking you yourself. It's supposed to make him feel good about it.
Right. You're
So
starting it.
It's just like first of lack of like for us, we would never do such a thing. We're more snoo, I guess, or whatever.
As I said earlier, there's
Yeah.
a guy who comes from the market and you have to be bought.
Right.
Right.
That's
So
the Gemara
okay,
says.
In regards to that, that's what this says. The truth is what is the outcome. Truth serves what the outcome is. If the outcome is a good outcome, which means he
Yeah.
bought it already, right?
Yeah.
So now he didn't like.
No, but
so
how is
you're
truth?
just whitewashing
Wait,
lies.
no, but how is truth outcome? Truth is truth, regardless of
No,
outcome.
no. Because
Yeah, no.
no, it's not. Because
Why
the
not?
truth is, we're looking at the outcome. What is the outcome that's going to come out if the guy bought already something and he has no way of returning it, and he already brought it home, and then this is what he has. So at least make him feel good.
Right.
His feeling is the truth, which is the outcome. That's what he's referring to.
But when you're making him
Are you
feel
allowed
good.
to lie?
Yes. Thank you.
No,
That's what you wanna
but-
hear.
I was
got
gonna say it.
But when the guy comes back with the mekach raw, you're not telling him. You're,
Why does give a very, very simple for all the steers?
Yeah.
Very simple answer. A white lie is okay. Possible.
we're going to get into that. So that's actually the next piece, changing the truth for the sake of peace, which you would consider a white lie. Right, the Gemara in Yevamot 65 goes through a few instances. One with being in 2 weeks parsha of Vayechi, right? The brothers send a message to Yosef saying, Yaakov asked us to tell you to forgive them. Right.
Get along.
Right, that's a full lie. I've never said anything like that. So there's those rooms. Okay, so we'll eventually get into that. But I just want to end off with the Mesilat Yesharim. The Mesilat Yesharim wants to tell us that there are levels. Somehow it became a plague amongst people. People are lying left and right. Right? However, there are levels. There are levels of liars. Level of liars again. Their profession is lying. They just can't say true word. You've met people like that. I'm sure you've met people like that because people exist. There are too many of them. No, they can't say truth.
They're selling cars. You know what I mean?
A used car salesman.
That's really their job.
Best of the best.
The guy just keeps lying. There's no way out for him to say the truth, right? He's just always lying.
Some say about lawyers.
Right? Now there are those who are close to that. The Mesilas Yesharim says they're not lying always, but they habitually lie when it's benefit to them. You know, when it's some reason for them to lie, they lie.
Go home. Why are you late? I got called for work.
No shalom bayis. Now you can white lie. No. Then there are those who are illnesses milder. They're not so entrenched in falsehood, but they still lie. They exaggerate. Then he says, Hashem told us very carefully very strongly, big warning to say truth. Dabru emet ish et pre'ehu, as it says in Zechariah. Behuchen bechesed kisav yeshav alav be'emet in Yeshaya. Hashem says, my children are the ones who don't lie. So, Hashem is telling us to be truthful. He says, one of the pillars of the world the Lord stands on his truth. And he is breaking down the foundation of the world. He's saying falsehoods. And the opposite, if someone says truth, he is keeping the foundation of the world. he brings here the story, famous story in Maseches Sanhedrin, Daf 97. There was the whole town, everyone was always speaking truth, and the Malach HaMavos had no dominion over them. And then there was one rabbi who moved in, and Altsnias, the wife, said something that not so truthful, and then the Malach HaMavos was invited inside, and they had to kick out that rabbi from the town in order for the Malach HaMavos not to have dominion over them again. Ends off. I don't have to speak more about this because it's an obvious topic. People know what's right and what's wrong. Yeah, go ahead. I'm finish off with that.
With the Tzurba Rebbe, a lot of the Hasidim today, they follow the Tzurba. People find them rude. Non-Hasidim find them rude, right? It's an old thing. Like they're very gruff. They're in your face. They're not saying good morning. They're not being fake. Why? Because that's the Tzurba Mahal. Well, the Maisa, it's very known like the Tzurba. I'm saying other than his Hasidim, other people didn't like him. If you're going to be always truthful, no one's going to like it, right?
Right. That's very true. The Ben Ish Chai has a nice mashal about speaking the truth all the time. Mess up a person's whole life.
But yeah, you gotta know. But also another story. There's a story one time ago. A person came to Haskama. He wrote a book on. He wrote a sefer. He came to the Gra. Wrote a Haskama on the sefer. For whatever political reasons, the Gra had to write the Haskama, even though he thought the book was trash. So he wrote the Haskama, and then was to sign at the bottom. He signed all the way at the bottom of the page. So the guy's like, "Oh, why is your name all the way there?" He's like, "What do you mean, Midrash Sheker?"
Stay far away from Sheker. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. All right, everybody say. Next week we'll continue. Hopefully we'll finish up this part of the share and we'll start brachot. תודה רבה. שבוע טוב לכולם. חנוכה שמח, זאת חנוכה.
חנוכה שמח. Thank you.
תודה רבה. שכוייח, רבוי זי.